يا أيها الناس قد جاءكم برهان من ربكم وأنزلنا إليكم نورا مبينا.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. O Allah, open my heart, make my task easy for me, remove the knots in my tongue so they may understand my speech. So we're on lesson 2 of looking at the letters of the Arabic alphabet for complete beginners. So to recap the aims of each of the lessons that we're going to cover, we will look at the letter names and the phonetic sound of each letter and the articulation point of each letter, which in Arabic we call the Makhraj. For each letter, we will pronounce it with one of the 3 short vowels on, Fatha, Kasra, Dhamma, and we will also pronounce the letter with Sukoon, which means free from one of these short vowels. So every letter in the Arabic alphabet will either have one of the short vowels on them or a sukoon on them. And a letter which is empty in the Quran is also in the state of sukoon. So the sukoon can be visible or it can be completely empty, i.e. it can be invisible, so it's still in the state of sukoon. So the letter name is Jim and the phonetic sound is Ja. So here you can see how the letter name is different to the phonetic sound. So the letter name is Jim and the phonetic sound is Ja. So the Jim is pronounced similar to the English J, as in Jack. So the middle of the tongue is elevated to touch the opposite upper palate here. And there has to be no gap between the tongue and the palate, so it has to be flush. There shouldn't be any gap. If you put a gap in here, then you'll allow it to sound like aj, which is incorrect. So there should be a complete block between the 2 parts of the makhraj, the 2 parts of the articulation points. So when we put one of the 3 vowels on it, fatha, dhamma, kasra, ja, ju, ji. It shouldn't be ja, ju, ji. So complete ja. So when I say ja, I'm starting from a closed position and I'm opening the tongue and the palate. Ja. When I say ju, then the lips are circled because we have a dhamma. And again, I'm starting from a closed position, so the tongue is flush with the upper palate and then it's opened, ju. And the same with ji. The tongue is closed and then we're going from a closed position to an open position, ji, ja, ju, ji. And when it's found with a sukoon, this is one of the letters which have something called qalqala, which is a vibration sound, which means that you have to bounce off the makhraj straight away. So as soon as we hit the articulation points of Jim, we have to come off the makhraj straight away, come off the articulation point straight away. So the way the mechanism of pronouncing a sakin letter is that going from an open position to a closed position, and then because we have vibration, we jump off the makhraj straight away. Ajr, ajr. And the common mistake would be to say aj or ad. So the correct way of pronouncing the Jim when it has a sukoon on is that you have to bounce off the makhraj immediately. Ajr, ajr, ajr. Without any aj, without any sound running or any breath running. So the sound and breath are both restricted. And it can be seen here how the Jim is written when it comes at the beginning. So the bottom half, the bottom tail of the Jim, you wouldn't be able to see when it's written at the beginning or in the middle. So you have to recognize the shape of the top of the Jim and the dot underneath, and only when it's written at the end of a word would you be able to see the full shape of the Jim. So the way to recognize it is by recognizing the above part of the Jim, because the tail will not be visible when it's written at the beginning or the middle, only when it's written at the end. So ja, ju, ji. So the next letter is ha, and the letter name is ha, and the phonetic name is also ha. So it's pronounced from the middle of the throat near the epiglottis area. And so this is the epiglottis area. And this is one of the letters which is specific to the Arabic language, because there are not many languages which use the epiglottis area as an articulation point. And be careful not to mix it with Jim, because it has the same shape as Jim, but without the dot in the middle. So ha. So ha is pronounced similar to the English H in hat. Hat. So the English H in hat also is pronounced from the glottis area, with the opening of the vocal cords. So ha, hu, hi, ha. So when we put one of the vowels on it, fatha, dhamma, kasra. So remember, the fatha is opening vertically, the dhamma is circling of the lips, and the ha, the kasra is lowering of the jaw. Ha, hu, hi. So we have another letter which sounds similar to the ha, which is the bottom ha, which we have coming up. So be careful that we don't mix the two letters up. So we have two similar sounding letters in the Arabic language, the ha and the ha, which we will have later on. And when it's pronounced with a sukoon, you can hear the sound and the breath running. Ah, ah. And if you were to put your hand in front of your mouth, you would feel the breath running on your hand. Ah. And again, note how it's written when it comes at the beginning and the middle of the word. The tail of the ha will be dropped, so you'll only see the top shape. So again, you have to recognize it by remembering that the ha has no dots. It doesn't have a dot underneath or on top. So ha, hu, hi, ah. So it has to be pronounced from the epiglottis area. Ha, hu, hi. So it involves pushing back the epiglottis. So you can see here, this flap is opened up slightly because the epiglottis is pushed back. And the way to push the epiglottis back is by pushing the tongue back. So it's like a piston movement. You're pushing it back. Be careful not to make it into a thick letter. Ha, hu, hi, ha. So keep the tongue in a relaxed position. So you can see that all the letters we've covered so far, the tongue has always been in a relaxed position, in a flat position, which means that these are all thin letters. And you'll see the difference when we come to a thick letter. So keep the tongue relaxed for the ha, otherwise you'll make it into a thick letter, which is incorrect. So the letter name of this letter is ha, and the phonetic name is also ha. So far in the Arabic alphabet, this is the first thick letter that we've come across. So what do we mean by thick letter? So you can see there's a change in the shape of the tongue here. So you can see the back of the tongue is elevated. So we have an elevation of sound, which is a permanent characteristic of the letter ha when it's pronounced. So it's permanently thick. And we also have you can see a dip or a concaving in the middle of the tongue, which causes an echo in the mouth. So you have a strong echo sound in the mouth, ha, ha, and there's also a narrowing in the throat area here. So you can see the epiglottis has been pushed back as the tongue is thickened to create a narrowing here, which aids in the thickness of the letter ha, ha. So the articulation point of ha is the top of the throat here. So the last where the blue area finishes is the top of the throat. Near to the soft palate here, so where the soft palate is falling down into the throat, this is the makhraj of ha. So be careful you don't take it onto the tongue, otherwise you'll mix it with ka, ha, ha. And when we put one of the three vowels on it, fatha, dhamma, kasra, ha, hu, khi. It shouldn't be pronounced with thinness. It shouldn't be kha, hu, khi, kha, ha. So make sure you have all of these mechanisms in place. So you have an elevation of sound, you have a concaving in the middle of the tongue, you have an echo sound in the mouth, and you have narrowing in the throat, all together which make it into a thick letter, ha, ha, hu, khi. And be careful that to make it thick, you don't use your lips. I often see students circling their lips to make a letter into a thick letter. This is the incorrect thing to do. Everything must be done on the inside the mouth, on the tongue, to make a letter thick. And when the letter is with sukoon, you can feel the breath running on your hand, and the sound is also running. So note how the kha looks like when it's at the beginning and in the middle of the word. So the tail will be dropped, and you can see the full shape of the kha when it's at the end of the word. Be careful not to mix it with the jim, which has a dot underneath, and the ha, which has no dots. So jim, ha, kha have the same shape, so you have to remember them by the dots. So the kha has the dot above, the jim has the dot underneath, and the ha is without any dots. So to summarize the 3 letters that we've covered today. So all 3 letters have the same letter shape, shape. The difference is in the dots. So the kha has a dot above, the ha is empty, and the jim has a dot beneath or in its belly. So we have kha, khu, khi, ha, hu, hi, ja, ju, ji. And to pronounce the letters with sukoon, so listen out for the characteristics that you can hear when the letter is sakina. So the kha is the first thick letter that we've come across. Aj. So the jim is the second letter of qalqala that we've come across so far. The first one was the letter ba. So the jim also has qalqala, which means that the sound is vibrated. As soon as you hit the articulation points, then you have to move off the articulation point immediately. Aj, aj, aj. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. O Allah, glory be to you, and all praise is due to you. I bear witness that there is none worthy of worship besides you, and I seek forgiveness from you, and I return to you in obedience.
وأن أتلو القرآن فمن اهتدى فإنما يهتدي لنفسه ومن ضل فقل إنما أنا من المنذرين.